The dust storm tastes like ground bone. It coats my tongue, gritty and cold, as I navigate the crumbling blocks of the old neighborhood. My boots crunch on shattered glass and pulverized brick, each step a tiny earthquake in the unnatural stillness that follows the wind. Howl. The GPS screen glows, a sickly green oasis in the sepia haze, its voice a dry whisper, Erebus Pathology Lab. Turn left in 50 meters. Asterisk, but the map is blank where the lab should be, a void where streets and buildings should exist. I check the screen again, fingers numb. Nothing. Just the endless, swirling ochre dust and the echo of my own shallow breaths, each one a tiny gulp of the storm's choking air. The silence between breaths is louder than the wind. Then I see it. Perched on a crumbling brick wall, a cat. Not the usual alley stray, but something wrong. Its fur is the color of dried rose petals, faded to sepia, but its eyes, to your God, the eyes he shift. Crimson one moment, a deep, bleeding red, then snapping to azure, cold and alien. It watches me with unnerving stillness. And the sound, it purrs. But not like a cat. It's a mechanical rasp, like a rusty hinge, grinding in the throat of a dead machine, vibrating through my chest cavity with each shallow breath I force out. Fortry hinge. Dry hinge. Dry hinge. Asterisk, the sound should be loud, but the storm's roar muffles it, making it feel closer, more invasive, like it's inside my ribs. I take a step closer, the dust swirling around my ankles like smoke. The cat doesn't move. Its purr intensifies, a sudden, sharp furor that makes my teeth ache. The air pressure shifts, subtle, then sharp, a tiny rattle in the loose brickwork above me. Falsehood spoken, asterisk, I think, the grief actor's mind already cataloguing the lie, the pentry wrongnessy of this place. The cat's purr thrums in my bones, amplifying the dread, making it a physical thing, a crushing weight behind my sternum. I feel the hollow ache of the grief I've performed for years, now turned real, turned hungry. I reach the door. It's old, heavy oak, scarred with time and something darker, scrawled across it in peeling. Black letters, decay holds truth. Asterisk, the words seem to pulse faintly in the dim light filtering through the dust. I reach out, my fingers brushing the cold, rough wood. The moment my skin touches the door, the GPS screen flickers violently. The green light dies. The voice cuts off mid-sentence. No route found. Asterisk, the silence that follows isn't empty. It's thick, suffocating, a physical pressure pressing in from all sides. The mechanical purr of the cat cuts off abruptly, leaving only the echo of that dry, grinding sound vibrating in my marrow. The dust storm's howl stops dead. Utter, unnatural stillness descends, like the world holding its breath. The cat is gone, vanished from the wall. Only the echo of its purr remains, a phantom vibration in the hollow space where my heart should be. I stare at the dead screen in my hand. The GPS flickers once, a final, desperate pulse of light. No route found. Asterisk, then it goes dark. The screen is cold, reflecting the sepia, stained dust swirling in the dead air. The storm's unnatural stillness presses in, heavier than the dust, heavier than the silence. I am alone, the door is cold under my palm. Decay holds truth. Asterisk, the words burn. The silence is empty. It's waiting. The door groans, not from the weight of my hand, but from the slow, deliberate decay of its hinges, the wood swollen with time and something darker. The moment I push it open, the stench hits first. Copper and formaldehyde, the sharp tang of old blood, and the sour sweetness of rotting flowers preserved too long. My boots sink slightly into the linoleum, now a mosaic of cracked tiles. Their grout stained the color of old bruises. The lab is a sepia dream, the kind that lingers after waking, where the edges of things are never quite sharp. Fluorescent tubes flicker above, their buzz a low, throbbing hum that makes my teeth ache. The first thing I notice is the table. Steel, cold under my palm, its surface etched with initials and the faded outlines of tools long since removed. At its center, a glass container, thick reinforced, sits on a black pad. Inside, molars, not the clean clinical specimens I've handled in my work, but jagged things yellowed at the roots, their enamel pitted like the bark of a dead tree. They're arranged in a perfect spiral, each one humming faintly, a sound like a swarm of bees trapped in a jar, their wings a blur of motion too fast to see. The vibration travels up my arm, a low, insistent thrum. like the engine of a car left running in the dark. I tell myself a lie. Not out loud, never that. The grief I've sold for years is a language of silence, a performance of cracks in the voice, of tears that come on cue. But here, in this lab, the words form in my mind before I can stop them. Feel nothing. Feel nothing. Not a tremor, not a shift, but a violent, shuddering convulsion. The glass jar rattling against the pad with a sound like breaking bone. Shelves along the wall creak, their contents. Jars of pickled eyes, jars of fingers curled like praying hands rattling in unison. A scalpel lies on the counter, its blade gleaming dully. The air pressure shifts, whoosh, and it's airborne, spinning through the dust-moted light before clattering to the floor with a sound like a gunshot in a tomb. Then the librarian appears. No, not appears, unfolds like a shadow given substance. Tall, skeletal, its fingers too long, too jointed, tracing words in the air as if carving them into the fabric of the room. The words hang there, suspended. Falsehoods fracture. The voice isn't a voice. It's a sound like pages being torn from a book, each syllable a rip, a tear in the silence. The cat is back, perched on the edge of the table, its fur still the color of dead roses, its eyes burning crimson now, pupil less, infinite. The purr isn't a sound anymore. It's a forte pressure, a force pressing against my ribs, my skull, my hollow chest. Tovy tree hinge, dry hinge, dry hinge. The vibration isn't in my ears, it's in my bones, in the marrow, in the places where grief should live but doesn't. I should run. But the molars are still moving. The librarian's fingers trace another word, fin truth, futhe. The cat's purr deepens, a fifi whir now, a machine grinding down to its final, rusted teeth. My breath comes in gulps, each one a ragged, desperate thing, the air thick with the taste of lies. The shelves rattle again, this time with a sound like breaking glass. The librarian's eyes, if it has eyes, fix on me, not with judgment. With hunger, then I see it. Beneath the container, half buried in the table's shadow, a map, not of streets or cities, but of something else, lines that twist and unravel like thread pulled too tight, words that shift and bleed into one another. The unraveling. The librarian's fingers point, and the word burns into my skin. My hand trembles as I reach out, my fingers brushing the paper. The moment my skin touches it, the molars scream me, a sound like 1,000 teeth grinding at once, and the world lurches. The air pressure shifts again, this time with a force that knocks me back. The cat's purr becomes a roar, a storm of rusted metal, and the librarian's voice, if it can be called a voice, whispers, "You are already unraveling." The map sticks to my fingers, the ink cold and wet, and I know with a certainty that cuts deeper than grief that I've just taken the first step down. The librarian doesn't speak, not in the way I understand speech. It gestures, a skeletal hand tracing a path through the towering shelves of books. Each volume seems to pulse with a faint, internal light, the titles blurred, unreadable. The air hangs thick, a suffocating blanket of dust and decay. Gulp, my breath hitches, a ragged thing in the oppressive silence. The map clings to my fingers, the ink cold against my skin, a constant reminder of the unraveling. The librarian moves with a disconcerting grace, gliding between the shelves as if they weren't there. I follow, the linoleum groaning under my weight, each step a protest against the decay. A crack, a small tremor runs through the floor, a ripple in the sepia dream. The molars in the container hum, a frantic insectile buzz. The cat, still perched atop the table, watches with those impossible crimson eyes. The purr, that mechanical footy whir, vibrates in my teeth. The first riddle appears etched into the spine of a crumbling tome. What is decayed but not broken? I stare at it, the question a physical weight pressing against my chest. The librarian's skeletal fingers tap the book impatiently. Thump, thump. My pulse quickens. I try to conjure a lie, a deflection, a performance. The molars respond with a violent shudder. The glass container rattles, a brittle foot and clink against the pad. I force the words out, tasting them like ash in my mouth. A promise. The librarian doesn't acknowledge the answer. It moves on, leading me deeper into the labyrinth. The next riddle, what is given freely, yet costs the most? The air grows colder, a bone-chilling draft that raises gooseflesh on my arms. Hiss. The fluorescent lights flicker, casting elongated, dancing shadows that writhe across the shelves. The cat's purr intensifies, a low, grinding drone. I stumble over a loose tile, the sound echoing through the lab like a dropped stone. Trust. The librarian pauses, its head tilting slightly. A fleeting flicker of something passes across its featureless face. I tell myself it's a trick of the light. The map on my fingers feels heavier, as if it's trying to pull me down. Then comes the one that breaks me. What is felt but never seen? The question hangs in the air, a palpable pressure against my skull. Gult fudvintevent. My breath catches in my throat. The molars scream, a chorus of grinding teeth that makes my vision blur. The cat's purr becomes a mechanical roar, a wave of sound that threatens to shatter my eardrums. The words spill out, unbidden, raw, and agonizingly true. I mimic grief to avoid my own. The confession hangs in the air, a poisonous cloud. The lab shifts D. A tremor runs through the building, a deep, guttural groan that seems to emanate from the very foundations. The shelves groan, a chorus of protesting wood, crack. A cascade of books tumbles from the highest shelves, a paper avalanche. The air pressure drops, a sudden twoosh that throws me off balance. The librarian doesn't move. It simply watches as the support beam behind it buckles under the weight of the collapsing shelves. The sound is a monstrous crunch, a tearing of wood and metal. The rubble falls, a suffocating cloud of dust and debris. I lurch forward, narrowly avoiding the crushing impact. A searing pain shoots through my wrist. I look down to see my hand pinned beneath a fallen beam, the bones grinding silently. Click, a clean break. The cat's eyes glow azure now, burning with an unsettling intensity. The mechanical purr vibrates through my bones, a relentless, deafening fiffin. A throofin, I pull, straining against the weight, but it's useless. The beam is too heavy. The pain is a white-hot brand on my skin, furvy gulp. I close my eyes, bracing for the inevitable. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the collapse stops. The dust settles, revealing the devastation. The librarian stands amidst the wreckage, untouched, impassive. The cat remains perched on the table, its azure eyes fixed on me. The librarian's final words appear etched into the air before me, shimmering with an unsettling light. The cat amplifies your truth. The cat's purr explodes, a deafening mechanical roar that drowns out all other sound. The map on my fingers burns, the ink seeping into my skin. I stumble backward, overwhelmed by the intensity of the sound, the pain in my wrist, the weight of the truth. The map burns against my palm like a brand, the ink crawling up my fingers in blackened veins. I follow it through alleys choked with vines, petals rotted black, thorns like jagged teeth, but the wind carries the scent of something older, damp earth, crushed stone, and the metallic tang of blood long dried. The dust storm howls through the blocks, a swarm of pulverized granite, each grain cutting my skin like glass. Foofa gulp. My breath comes in ragged sync with the cat's purr, a broken footwear that vibrates through my ribs, syncopated, relentless. It pads beside me, its crimson eyes flickering to azure as it watches the ruins unfurl beneath my boots. The sidewalk splits. The earth yawns open, and there it is, a temple, half swallowed by the city's bones. The stones are warm beneath my hands, pulsing faintly, as if the very rock remembers something. The frescoes cover the walls, cats with too many eyes, librarians with hollow faces, their fingers pressing into the chests of kneeling men. The paint is wet, the colors bleeding into the air like tears. I press my palm to Wantifuispa, unseen gods who taste truth. The cat's purr spikes, a screech of gears, and my pulse lurches in response. A door half buried in ivy stands slightly ajar, the hinges groan like a dying man. I reach for it. The fresco behind me shudders. The librarian's fingers dig into the man's flesh, ribs cracking like dry branches. His face twists in agony, but his reflection, one, stares back, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream. The door slams shut. The impact rattles my teeth. The cat's purr becomes a fodroch, a storm of grinding metal, and the air thickens, pressing in from all sides. The frescoes breathe. The librarian's fingers flex in the painted scene as if testing the weight of my bones. The cat's eyes burn azure now, burning through me. I should run. I should scream, but the door won't open, and the map is burning my skin clean away. The door's finality presses against me, a weight I can taste on my tongue, a metallic dryness like old pennies. I should run. The thought is a frantic bird trapped in my ribs, beating against bone, but the map continues its slow, agonizing burn, etching its blackened veins deeper into my flesh. It anchors me. The temple's interior is a mausoleum of forgotten devotion. Ritual artifacts, obsidian cats, jade felines, even one carved from what looks sickeningly like bone swoon litter the floor. They're arranged with a disturbing precision, as if awaiting a ceremony I'm now destined to participate in. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of decay and something else, something faintly floral, yet cloying like lilies left too long in stagnant water. I move forward, the dust swirling around my ankles with each step, a miniature sepia storm. My breath hitches, a gulp, escaping my lips. The cat, a silent sentinel, sits atop a stone altar, its crimson eyes fixed on me. The purr is a low thrumming in the stone floor, a mechanical vibration that resonates in my teeth. It isn't comforting, it is a warning. My hand drifts towards a stone basin, intricately carved with scenes of feline processions. It's cold, shockingly so, leaching the warmth from my skin. As my palm makes contact, a shudder runs through the frescoes. The colors, already bleeding, intensify, the paint dissolving into a viscous sepia liquid that drips onto the stone floor. It smells like regret. Words begin to coalesce from the dripping pigment. Not elegant calligraphy, but crude, almost childlike scrawls. "You are the lie," the phrase repeats, forming a looping mantra across the wall. The cat's purr shifts, a subtle distortion, a mechanical whine layered beneath the rumble. It feels like a physical blow. My gut clenches, a visceral revulsion rises, a wave of nausea that threatens to buckle my knees. The words, they resonate with a truth I've been desperately trying to bury. Years of carefully constructed narratives of practiced smiles and hollow reassurances. A lifetime spent playing a role, a grief actor reciting lines I didn't write. The cat's purr escalates, a tortured fond de screeche that vibrates through my skull. It's no longer a purr. It's a mechanical shriek, a condemnation. I press my hands to my ears, but the sound permeates everything, seeping into my bones. My pulse hammers against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the rising tide of dread. I remember the faces I've portrayed: Futi, the bereaved mother, the grieving son, the heartbroken widow. Each performance a meticulously crafted illusion, a charade designed to elicit empathy, to earn a paycheck. But beneath the surface, beneath the carefully constructed façade, there's been nothing, just an echoing emptiness. The sepia liquid continues to flow, the words multiplying, engulfing the frescoes. "You are the lie. You are the lie. You are the lie." The cat's eyes burn crimson, twin embers in the gloom. My vision tunnels, the world shrinking to the confines of that single, accusing gaze. The air grows thick, pressing in on me, stealing my breath. My throat constricts, a painful knot of unshed tears and suppressed truths. The mechanical purr reaches a fever pitch, a piercing whine that threatens to shatter my eardrums. I stumble backward, desperate to escape the suffocating weight of the temple, the suffocating weight of my own deception. Then it leaps, a blur of shadow and muscle. The cat launches itself from the altar, a projectile of pure dread, landing squarely on my chest. The impact steals the air from my lungs. For a moment, I'm suspended, weightless, trapped between the stone floor and the burning gaze of the feline predator. Its eyes flash azure, a blinding flash of electric blue, before vanishing completely, leaving behind only a shimmering trail of light that lingers on the ceiling. The door to the pathology lab is a gash in reality, a jagged wound that yawns open as I push through it. My shoulder hits first Hughie, then my hip, then the back of my skull against the new floor. The world doesn't just tilt, it unfolds a slow-motion betrayal of physics. The ceiling is now beneath me, the walls stretching upward like the ribs of some vast, broken corpse. My breath hitches, a fit of disbelief, and the air rushes out in a gust, carrying with it the scent of antiseptic and something older, something like wet stone and rust. I slide. The soles of my boots scrape against the inverted surface, kicking up dust that spirals vertically, not in lazy curls, but in violent, upward lashes, stone hitting stone like hail against a roof. The lab's contents are now a grotesque tableau of suspended horror, preserved organs dangling from hooks that now point toward the sky, their once soft textures now taut and glistening under the flickering fluorescent glow. A scalpel lies embedded in the wall, its blade jutting outward like a finger pointing at me. My fingers claw at the surface, nails digging into the cold, slick metal of the workbench, now a ceiling. The vibration hums through my palms, a low, rhythmic thrum, as if the lab itself is breathing, or purring. The cat. It's there, perched on the edge of the ceiling, its crimson eyes fixed on me. The purr isn't a sound anymore. It's a vibration in the air, a mechanical whine that resonates in my teeth and my bones. It's watching. Waiting. The world has flipped, but its gaze hasn't. It's still a predator. I kick off the wall, propelling myself toward a flickering light source, a single bulb hanging from a wire, now pointing straight up into the darkness. The motion is clumsy, my limbs heavy with the disorientation of a body that no longer knows which way is down. The dust devils twist around me, vertical tornadoes of pulverized stone, and I can feel the weight of the particles pressing against my skin, cold and gritty. Below me, now above, the lab's floor stretches out, a vast expanse of metal and glass. And there, floating midair, is the container of molars. The lid is shattered, the teeth suspended in a slow, eerie dance vibrating with a soundless hum. They're not just teeth anymore. Their eyes, watching, accusing. I reach for the edge of the ceiling corridor, my fingers brushing against the cold, damp surface. The purr intensifies, a distorted growl that rattles my ribs. The cat's eyes flash crimson to azure in a heartbeat, and I freeze. The color shifts again, a sickening pulse of light, and for a moment I swear I see something move behind those eyes. Something twin-human. The vibration in the molars grows louder, a soundless scream. The teeth begin to spin faster and faster until they blur into a single whirling mass of ivory and shadow. The purr becomes a shriek, a mechanical wail that claws at my eardrums, and I realize I'm not sliding toward the light. I'm falling. The fall isn't abrupt. It's a slow, sickening surrender. The whirling teeth, those cindy eyes draw me down, a vortex of ivory and shadow. My stomach lurches, a cold, heavy weight in my chest. Fin gulp. The air rushes past, thick with the scent of antiseptic and that older, unsettling dampness. I flail, limbs thrashing, but there's no purchase, no ground. Only the relentless pull of the inverted gravity. Dust motes, liberated from the walls, cling to my face, a gritty film that stings my eyes. Each particle feels like a tiny, accusing finger. Fududi. My shoulder connects with something solid-footy, a metal shelf jutting from the ceiling floor. A jolt of pain, sharp and immediate, radiates down my arm. I brace myself, a desperate anchor against the downward spiral. The cat watches. Always watching, its crimson eyes now flecked with an unsettling gold, track my every movement. The purr, that mechanical whine, intensifies, vibrating through the shelf, through my bones. It's not just a sound anymore, it is a pressure, a tangible force. I can feel it pushing against my temples, amplifying the disorientation, the fear. I push off the shelf, attempting to arrest the fall, but it's futile. The lab is a labyrinth, a twisted mockery of architecture. Debris drifts past teeth and shattered glassware, stray instruments souven, each a potential hazard in this inverted reality. A microscope suspended in midair swings toward me, and I duck, the lens narrowly missing my face. My shoulder slams against the wall again, a grinding protest of bone and muscle. Crack. A dull ache blossoms in my left clavicle. She's perched on another shelf, higher up, a pale figure against the decaying floral wallpaper Sibonai, a pattern I hadn't noticed before, a grotesque parody of beauty. The librarian, her face is obscured by shadow, but I can sense her gaze, cold and calculating. She's writing on the shelf with what looks like a piece of charcoal. The words appear slowly, painstakingly. Up is a lie. The words resonate, not just in my mind but in the air itself. The cat's purr swells, a mechanical drone that drowns out my own ragged breathing. Vegulp. I try to speak, to question her, but the words catch in my throat, strangled by a rising tide of panic. The teeth continue their silent, whirling dance. They seem to be reacting to something, vibrating with increased intensity. The librarian's gaze shifts to me, and more words appear on the shelf. The molars know your lies. Lies. What lies? I've been meticulously truthful, haven't I? A professional grief actor, my currency is authenticity, vulnerability. I've built a career on portraying sorrow, on embodying loss. There's nothing to hide, but the teeth, they seem to disagree. My vision blurs, the edges of the lab distorting. The purr is almost unbearable now, a physical assault. I stumble, my feet scraping against the metal surface, sending a shower of dust raining down. I reach out, desperate for something to hold onto, and my hand brushes against a floating shelf. On it, nestled amongst the debris, is a single molar. It's clean, unnervingly white against the sepia tones of the lab. It vibrates gently in my palm, a silent hum that resonates deep within my bones. I drop it as if burned. The librarian vanishes. One moment she's there, a pale specter in the shadows. The next, she's gone. The only trace of her is the unsettling message etched into the shelf, and the lingering vibration of the discarded molar. The cat remains, its eyes fixed on me, the mechanical purr, a constant, oppressive drone. The teeth continue their silent dance, their vacant eyes staring into my soul. The door isn't teeth to door, it's as a wound in the air, a jagged rent that breathes in the shape of a man. I step through, and the world tilts, not just sideways but frunwrong, as if the axes of existence have been unhinged and left to rust. The library stretches before me, an abyss of sepia and rot, where books do not rest on shelves but feed between to the walls and ceiling, their spines curved like the ribs of some vast, dying beast. The air is thick, not with dust but with the weight of silence, a silence so dense it presses against my eardrums, a physical force that makes my skull hum. My breath comes in short, sharp gulpsy, the sound echoing back at me, distorted, as if the room itself is swallowing the noise. She is already waiting. The librarian floats in a chair that defies gravity, suspended mid-air as though held aloft by unseen hands. Her fingers, long and pale, trace the spines of books that hover just above her desk. The chair creaks, not with wood, but with something older, something hungry. Her eyes find mine, and for a moment, I swear I see the dust storm outside reflected in their depths, swirling like the cat. Sighs crimson 1 second, azure the next. She gestures with a single finger, and a book detaches from the wall, drifting toward me. The cover reads, Feriality number 7 asterisk. I reach out, my fingers brushing the leather, bound surface. The moment I touch it, the book opens itself, pages unfurling like the wings of a moth. The text is written in a hand that isn't hers, sharp, jagged, as if carved by a blade that never quite cuts clean. It reads, asterisk, you were always a grief actor. Asterisk the words done. To just appear on the page they folded in my mind, a script I've played 1,000 times, a role I've worn so long the edges have blurred. My stomach twists. I've spent my life performing sorrow, bending my face into expressions of loss that weren't mine, but the lie sits heavy now, a stone in my chest. The librarian watches, her lips parted slightly, as if she can taste the truth in the air. Then, the cat appears. It slinks from the shadows, its fur a shifting mosaic of sepia and decayed floral patterns, the same grotesque wallpaper that clings to the walls. Its eyes, one crimson, one azure, lock onto me, and the purr begins. Not a sound, but a vibration, a mechanical whine that resonates through the bones of my skull. The library trembles in response, books rattling on their invisible shelves, pages fluttering like the wings of trapped insects. The air pressure shifts again, and for a heartbeat, the world tilts further, the floor becoming a ceiling, the walls breathing in and out like the ribs of a corpse. I swallow hard. The librarian's voice is a whisper, but it doesn't reach my ears. It twines and spools inside my head. Asterisk truth is a muscle, Raymond. You've never exercised it. Asterisk another book drifts toward me, this one labeled Fifth Truth number 3. Asterisk. I take it, and the moment my fingers close around the cover, the pages fly open, inside. A single line, asterisk you smiled once, before the rolls, before the lies. Asterisk my pulse hammers in my throat. I don't remember that smile. I don't remember thuck and handy thing before the grief, before the performances, before the hollow ache that became my currency. The cat's purr intensifies. A saw grinding against bone. I stumble back, my heel catching on something unseen. The librarian's chair creaks again, closer this time, and I realize she's moving. Not toward me, but toward me, but through me, as if I am nothing more than a ghost in her path. Then, I see it. A book on the desk, bound in black leather, its spine cracked like old bone. I reach for it, my fingers trembling. The moment I open it, the world stills, the purr stops. The silence isn't just thick now. It's absolute, a void that swallows sound. And there on the page is my face. Not the face I wear for the cameras, not the mask of sorrow I've perfected. This is Fundy Mum, really me, smiling, eyes bright, unburdened. The cat's eyes widen, its purr cutting off mid-note, a mechanical device suddenly silenced. The librarian's breath catches, a sound like dry leaves skittering across stone, and then the book slams shut. The smile is gone, the page is blank. The cat's purr starts again, slower this time, deliberate, a warning. The librarian's fingers hover over another book, this one labeled 20, The Truth About Raymond Kensington. I don't wait to see what it says. The mirrors aren't mirrors at all. They're wounds in the sepia flesh of the walls, pulsing like veins filled with black ink. I press my palm against the first one, cold, slick as a fishy, and it doesn't reflect me. It reflects in him my face, but younger, unlined, the edges of his mouth still remembering how to smile. His eyes, my eyes, are clear, untouched by the weight of the roles I've played. He blinks, and the glass fizz sweepsy, a slow, silent tear cutting down the surface like a knife through butter. The shatter isn't sound. It's a vibration in my teeth, a high-pitched scream trapped behind my molars, pressing against the roots of my lies. I recoil. The reflection's fingers, my fingers, stretch toward me. But the glass is already healing, the cracks sealing like a wound. The cat's purr hums again, but this time it's not a single note. It's a chorus, a dozen malfunctioning engines revving in unison, the vibration crawling up my spine like rust. The librarian's voice slithers from the darkness. You are the lie. Her words don't move her lips. They unfold in the air between us, letters carved from dust. I lunge for the next reflection. This one is different. Older, hollow, eyed, a man who has spent too long drowning in his own sorrow. His hands are clasped like a prayer, his face a mask of grief so deep it's become his skin. I reach out, my fingers brushing the surface. The glass din screams you again, not in sound but in the marrow of my bones, and the reflection fish shatters inward, not outward. The pieces don't fall. They dissolve, swallowed by the wall like a secret. The cat's purr sharpens, a blade grinding against metal, and the air thickens, pressing against my ribs. I can't breathe. The librarian's chair creaks, the wood funta splintering like dry bone, and I realize she's moving again. Not toward me, but toward me through me, her fingers brushing my shoulder like a cold draft. You performed grief so well, her voice whispers inside my skull, you forgot it was ever real. The next reflection is worse. It's I meme but twisted, my jaw unhinged, my teeth bared in a grin that doesn't belong to any face I've ever worn. The glass is black here, like oil, and when I touch it, the shatter isn't silent. It's every sound I've ever faked, the gasp of an audience, the sob of a mourner, the hollow laugh of a man who doesn't know how to be anything but a ghost. The vibration rips through me, and I stumble back, my heel catching on something unseen. The cat's purr is a saw now, tearing through flesh, and the walls embreathed in time with the rhythm, the floral wallpaper peeling back like dead skin. The last reflection is the worst. It's me, but Twiffle. Not the man who smiles too easily, not the actor, not the grieving husk. Just a mime alive, untouched by the roles, the lies, the performances, he's standing in the storm outside. The dust swirling around him like a crown, his eyes bright, his mouth curved in a way I don't remember. I reach for him, my fingers trembling, and the glass still screamsy. Not in my teeth, not in my bones, but in the thorny truth of it. The sound of a life I never lived. The reflection shatters, but this time the pieces don't dissolve. They stay floating in the air like shards of memory, and the last one, just one, whispers, "You are the cat." The purr stops. Not a pause, not a slowdown. Stopped. The silence is absolute, a void that swallows breath. The cat's eyes flare crimson, twin embers in the dark, and the librarian's fingers hover over another book, its spine cracked like old bone. The air pressure shifts again, and the world tilted, not sideways, not wrong, but even side out, even the floor becoming a ceiling, the walls from breathing like lungs. The cat's purr starts again, slower this time, deliberate, a blade being drawn across a throat, and the librarian smiles. Not with her mouth, with her foody eyes. The dust storm outside howls, a sound that isn't sound, and the book on the desk, The Truth About Raymond Kensington, waits. The last reflection shatters, its fragments suspended in mid-air like 1,000 tiny tears. I reach out, my fingers trembling as if trying to grasp a memory that is already fading. The glass doesn't weep this time. It simply lies still, a vacant stare where truth once resided. My gaze drifts down to the library floor, now empty except for the cat standing alone, its eyes burning with an otherworldly intensity. As I watch, transfixed by those azure orbs, they seem to shift like the turning of pages in an ancient tome. The color deepens, a rich blue that is almost purple at its edges, and then it shifts again back to crimson, as if reflecting the turmoil within me. My hand extends involuntarily, a plea or perhaps a command, but before I can touch the cat, it begins to dissolve. The process is slow, agonizingly so, like watching sand slip through an hourglass grain by grain. The cat's form blurs at its edges first, then dissolves into dust that dances in the faint light filtering from outside. Each particle seems to carry a memory with it, whispers of moments I've never lived but somehow remember. They swirl around me, a vortex of forgotten truths and half-remembered lies. The library begins to collapse inward, walls folding upon themselves like an accordion being compressed by an unseen hand. Books tumble from shelves that no longer exist, their pages fluttering wildly before they too disintegrate into nothingness. The sound is not deafening, it is more a feeling of absence, as if reality itself is gulping air in preparation for its final breath. In the midst of this chaos I feel an odd sense of calm, perhaps acceptance. It is as though I've been living someone else's life all along, and now, finally, I get to see my own ending unfold. The cat's purr lingers even after it has vanished into dust, a mechanical hum that seems out of place among the silence. The storm outside erupts in one final burst before succumbing to an unsettling stillness. No wind whispers through the broken windows, no particles of stone or earth continue their maddening dance against my skin. There is only the echo of absence, the kind of quiet you might find at the bottom of a deep well where sound fears to tread. And then there is darkness. Not just the lack of light, but an actual presence that presses upon me from all sides, heavy as water and relentless in its suffocation. I wait for what feels like eternity within this void, my breath caught between inhale and exhale, anticipating something. The anticipation itself becomes a sound, or perhaps it is more accurate to say the absence of any other noise makes the silence audible. It hums with potential energy, a held note on the precipice of resolution. Then, in the distance, a place that feels both everywhere and nowhere at all. One mechanical purr echoes through the void. It starts low, almost imperceptibly, before rising to a pitch that is not quite sound but more vibration. Something felt rather than heard. It grows louder still until it fills my entire being, becoming me, or perhaps revealing what I've always been beneath the layers of performance and deception, an echo in search of its source. In this moment, everything stops: breath, thought, time itself, and there is only that purr, a solitary heartbeat in the darkness. It is both reassuring and terrifying, a promise of continuation within nothingness. The sound envelops me completely now, becoming my universe and ending all I knew with each deliberate pulse. The purr grows one notch louder still, filling every crevice left by doubt or fear, until it is no longer distinguishable from the silence that preceded it. It simply exists as a singular truth. There is nothing else but this moment of sound in an endless sea of darkness and quiet anticipation for what might come next.